Utility spells. In addition to our main spells and cooldowns, we also have many utility spells that can be game-changing when used in the proper scenario to fully take advantage of our entire spell book. Charge, quickly rush to an enemy, stunning them and generating some rage. With the Juggernaut talent, we can use this ability while in combat and it will increase the crit chance of our next mortal strike or slam by 25%. Intervene, we rush to an ally's location, causing the next melee or ranged attack made against them to be redirected to us instead. It also reduces their threat by 10%. Berserker Rage removes and makes us immune to fear and incapacitating effects. It also causes us to generate extra rage when taking damage. Berserker Rage also counts as an enrage effect for abilities such as Enraged Regeneration. Pummel interrupts the target, preventing them from casting for 4 seconds. This is an important spell that we should be making use of whenever possible, especially on trash pulls. This spell is not on the global cooldown, letting us cast it freely. We can use Pummel in any stance. Disarm removes our target's melee and ranged weapons for 10 seconds, greatly reducing the damage they deal and may prevent them from using certain abilities. And finally, Shield Wall reduces all damage taken by 40% for 12 seconds. Requires us to equip a shield first to activate, and the buff will be removed if we unequip the shield. This concludes the utility spells section, and we will discuss the buffs and debuffs next. Buffs and debuffs. Buffs and debuffs are an important part of any party or raid group as they greatly increase our group's ability to tank, heal, and deal damage. Always keep our buffs and debuffs up to ensure the highest chance of success. For buffs we have Battle Shout, increases strength and agility of all nearby raid and party members. Commanding Shout, increases the stamina of all nearby raid and party members. For debuffs we have Blood Frenzy, causes targets of the bleed debuffs to take an additional 4% increased physical damage. In addition, they will also take 30% increased bleed damage. This will always be active as Rend is a key part of our damage rotation. Sunder Armor reduces the target's armor by 4% per application, stacking up to 3 times. Demoralizing Shout reduces the physical damage dealt of all nearby enemies by 10%. Thunderclap reduces the attack speed of all nearby enemies by 20%. There are 3 spells left in our spellbook that we can employ depending on the situation we are in. These spells are Spell Reflection, reflects a spell back towards the caster. Hamstring, slows target's movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds. And finally, Intimidating Shout, fears up to 6 nearby enemies for a short duration. With this, we would have covered stances, damage spells, utility spells, buffs and debuffs, and finally our other spells. Now, let us move to our rotation and cooldowns. In this section, we will learn how to optimize the rotation of our Arms Warrior in both single target and multi-target PvE situations in Cataclysm Classic. Knowing how each spell and ability works in detail will greatly increase our understanding of the Arms Warrior, as we are one of the strongest DPS specs in the game while having a very active, fun rotation. As an Arms Warrior, we will need to utilize both the Battle Stance and Berserker Stance to use all our spells and gain as much uptime of the 10% damage increase from Berserker Stance. With Tactical Mastery, we will retain 75 rage with each stance change. Be sure to quickly spend any rage over 75 before swapping stances. Since Lambs to the Slaughter automatically refreshes our Rend, the only ability we need to use in Battle Stance is Overpower. The main reason that this works is that Taste for Blood will proc every 6 seconds, giving us a bit of free time between Overpower uses. Our goal is to use Overpower right before swapping to Berserker Stance, stay in Berserker Stance for about 8 or 9 seconds, swap back to Battle Stance and use Overpower twice, rinse and repeat. With some practice, this provides about a 3% DPS increase. The spells we will use in our single target rotation are Rend, which we will apply to a target once and will automatically refresh when we use Mortal Strike. Mortal Strike, we should use this spell on cooldown. Colossus, Smash, we will use it on cooldown, making sure to burst with any available cooldowns during the 6-second debuff window. Overpower, we should use with Taste for Blood procs. Heroic Leap, we should use on cooldown, ideally during Colossus Smash DPS windows. Heroic Strike, always use it when we have Battle Trance procs or when our rage is high. Execute must be used when the target is below 20% health. Slam, its use should be as a filler when we have high rage. And finally, Commanding Shout, which should be used for rage regeneration as needed. Our AOE rotation will change depending on how many enemies we are facing. If we are up against 2 targets, then we will follow the single target rotation, using Sweeping Strikes on cooldown and replacing Heroic Strike with Cleave. But if we are up against 3 targets, then we will use Rend on the highest health target, Thunderclap on cooldown, and we will pair it with Blood and Thunder, Bladestorm. Make sure to use Recklessness first if available. Sweeping Strikes always on cooldown. Mortal Strike will be used on cooldown. Colossus Smash should be used on cooldown. Overpower, where we will use with Taste for Blood procs. And finally, Cleave for any extra rage. If we are facing 4 or more targets, then we will use these spells. Rend, this should be used on the target with the highest health. Thunderclap, we need to try to use this on cooldown, and if possible, pair it with Blood and Thunder. Bladestorm, if Recklessness is not available, then we need to try to use Bladestorm. Sweeping Strikes, we should always use this spell on cooldown. Mortal Strike, we will use it on cooldown. Whirlwind, due to the damage it does to multiple targets, we should use it on cooldown. Overpower, should be used when Taste for Blood procs. And finally, Cleave, we should use it to generate for extra rage. The rotation portion is now complete. Let's talk about our cooldowns. As Arms Warriors, we have several personal cooldowns, mostly focused on increasing our DPS, starting with Sweeping Strikes, which we should use on cooldown when we can hit 2 targets at a time. Deadly Calm is a spell that we should use in combination with other cooldowns during Colossus Smash burst windows. Recklessness we should use with major cooldowns such as Bloodlust or Heroism. Bladestorm should be used when AOEing groups of enemies. Rallying Cry, we should use it in coordination with our raid leader to help the group survive raid mechanics. Inner Rage should be used when we have high rage that we cannot otherwise spend. Shattering Throw, we should use with raid cooldowns such as Bloodlust or Heroism. And finally, in Rage Regeneration, which should be used if we are very low on health and we want to stay alive. The rotation and cooldown section is now complete. Let's talk about our stat priority. We can find the optimal PvE stat priority for our Arms Warrior in this section. I will present the stat priority before delving into more complex explanations. The stat priority for Arms Warrior is as follows. Strength, hit rating, 8% hit cap. Expertise rating, 6.5%, 26 expertise cap. Critical strike rating, mastery rating, haste rating. Strength. Strength is the main stat for all plate-wearing DPS classes, including Arms Warriors. Strength is now the only way to get attack power, converting 1 strength into 2 attack power. Our strength gets further increased by buffs like Blessing of Kings. Hit rating. Our second stat priority will be to reach the hit cap of 8%, which can be obtained through the hit rating stat. Reaching the hit cap ensures that our auto attacks and abilities can no longer miss our target, giving us the highest possible DPS increase out of any stat. We should always try to cap our hit rating out any way possible before looking at other stats. At level 85, 120 hit rating equals 1% hit chance. Expertise rating. We should always aim for expertise rating until we hit the 6.5% expertise cap, or 26 total expertise. This will prevent bosses from dodging our attacks, even when we are attacking the target from behind. Critical strike rating. Critical strike rating is our best secondary stat after reaching the hit and expertise caps, as it provides the most overall DPS increase out of the other 3 choices. Crit scale with multiple talents, namely Deep Wounds and Wrecking Crew, giving it additional value beyond simply dealing extra damage when we crit. At level 85, 180 crit rating equals 1% crit. Mastery rating. Mastery is the new stat added in Cataclysm and provides a different, unique benefit for every single specialization in the game. For Arms Warriors, Mastery gives strikes of opportunity, giving our melee attacks a chance to trigger an additional white attack. While this might seem rather weak at first, strikes of opportunity can proc from both auto attacks as well as abilities, giving us a lot of chances to gain an extra melee attack. Each point of mastery increases the proc chance of strikes of opportunity by 2.2%. At level 85, 180, mastery rating equals 1% mastery, and finally, haste rating. Despite haste rating receiving some buffs in Cataclysm, it remains our weakest stat as it only provides additional auto attacks. We will typically want to avoid gear with haste rating. At level 85, 128 haste rating equals 1% haste. Enchants, gems, and consumables play a role in boosting the power of our character when facing Cataclysm's deadly challenges. Enchants imbue weapons and armor with potent magical properties to enhance our power. Gems are meticulously socketed into gear, enhancing attributes and rounding gear out to fit our exact needs. Lastly, consumables range from elixirs to potions, providing temporary boosts to vital stats and granting crucial advantages in the heat of combat. Here are the recommended enchants for us in Cataclysm. For the head slot, we will enchant it with Arcanum of the Wildhammer if we play as Alliance, or Arcanum of the Dragonmaw if we play as Horde. For the shoulder slot, we will enchant it with Lion's Mane Inscription if we have Inscription, or Greater Inscription of Jagged Stone. For our cloak slot, we will enchant it with Swordguard Embroidery if we have Tailoring, or Enchant Cloak of Greater Critical Strike. For our chest slot, we will enchant it with Enchant Chest of Peerless Stats. For our wrist slot, we will enchant it with Draconic Embossment of Strength if we have Leatherworking, or Enchant Bracer of Major Strength, or Socket Bracer if we have Blacksmithing. For the hands slot, we will enchant it with Enchant Gloves of Mighty Strength, or Synapse Springs if we have Engineering, or Socket Gloves if we have Blacksmithing. For the waist slot, we will enchant it with Ebon Steel Belt Buckle, or Nitro Boosts if we have Engineering. For the leg slot, we will enchant it with Dragonbone Leg Reinforcements if we have Leatherworking, or Dragon Scale Leg Armor. For the feet slot, we will enchant it with Enchant Boots of Lava Walker. For the ring slot, we will enchant it with Enchant Ring of Strength if we have Enchanting. And finally, for the weapon, we will enchant it with Enchant Weapon of Landslide. Here are a list of gems recommended for us as Arms Warrior. Be sure to meet our meta gem requirements by using at least 3 red gems. For our meta gem, we will use the Reverberating Shadow Spirit Diamond. For our red gem, we will use the Bold Inferno Ruby. For our yellow gem, we will use Inscribed Ember Topaz. For our blue gem, we will use Etched Demon's Eye. For profession-specific gems, we can use Bold Chimera's Eye if we have Jewel Crafting, and the Smooth Cogwheel, Ragged Cogwheel, and Precise Cogwheel if we have Engineering as a profession. The last section to cover in this guide is Consumables. Consumables consist of food, flasks, and potions, and here we can find the recommended consumables that we should use. For the food part, we will use Beer-Basted Crocolisk, or Fortune Cookie, or Seafood Magnifique Feast. As for the flasks and potions, we will use Flask of Titanic Strength and the Golem Blood Potion. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you found it helpful. Show your support by liking this video. Hit the notification bell to get the latest updates. Comment on what you would like to see next. Until next time, see ya.